Greeting, guys. How are you? Hope everybody's feeling okay. Couple of updates. What's going on? It was 2 weeks we haven't met. I was busy in other stuff. Don't ask me what, so I will not have to lie. But here we are. So before we start about the legal reform and what's going on in Israel, I want to talk about something that ran in social media and the Christian circles and made a lot of noise, and everybody was worried about the member of Knesset in the Israeli parliament that issued. He said he want to make a law against Christians, actually spreading the gospel online and all this kind of stuff. Everybody was concerned and rightly concerned about that, and even I got a lot of private text messages ask me if it's true or is it wrong. Well, it was true. He actually wanted to. It's an ultra orthodox member of Knesset. He wanted to do that, which is crazy. How can you limit online something? Like he said, if you are in Israel, you cannot post online stuff regarding Jesus, etc. But if I'm an Israeli and I want to go to the American website or European website, how that work? In any case, and Netanyahu, the prime minister, tweet that nothing of this kind will happen. So this law will not see the day of light. So everybody can be relaxed and back to normal. Any case in life and in Christian circles, count to 10 before we get dramatic and hysterical. So everything is cool. I wanted to put that thing aside and to sleep. Let's talk about the legal reform. Probably you guys are monitoring the news in Israel. It's a big thing. Netanyahu announced this week that he's postponing, is putting it on hold actually for 3 months until the Knesset will reassemble in the summer, and he's calling the opposition and the leaders of the demonstrations to come to a negotiation about that. He said, like everybody agreed that the reform should take place, but it has to be with a very wide agreement of everybody. Even though you can say what those guys won the election, so they can do whatever they want. But I think the demonstration that was running around Israel was very surprising also to the coalition, and they decided to put it on hold. I think what was the straw that broke the camel back was um, Minister of Defense Gallant came and said we have to stop because it's going into the army. And I think we talked about it last report about pilots that are refusing to fly, and that was a very very dangerous road, which I told you. If you want the end of times in Israel, that will be the end of times in Israel. If the political dispute and disagreement will go into the army, that's the end of Israel. Israel cannot exist without the Israeli army, and the Israeli army cannot exist if there is people refusing to serve because of a political issue. So Netanyahu, as an act of leadership, decided to put it on hold. Now they are assembling in the president house to negotiate. The president in Israel is a symbolic office. It doesn't have any authority, just a symbolic office. But it's a place that they can host the negotiation. Let's see what will happen with that. Looks like all the sides just waited for a letter to go down from the tree, and we will monitor that so everybody can be calm, and we still have hope to find a resolution to this problem. I want to give you my take about the legal reform and the demonstrations, and because if I'm assuming people from all over the world looking upon this thing, asking, saying to themselves, this is pretty weird. Like, why they are arguing about two Supreme Court judges, and it's all because if you go to the demonstration and you ask the people that demonstrate, what's the reform on, they don't know. Like, why are you fighting for it? If you ask the pilots, someone gave you an order to bomb the Supreme Court, why you guys are refusing to come and serve? And I think the story, it's much more deeper. The story is that the the crisis or the disagreement between left and right, and not left and right to be accurate, it's between the first Israel and the second Israel. And this is a phrase, guys, that I want you to hear me out and understand. What's the first Israel and what's the second Israel? The first Israel, it's a phrase referring to the Jews that came and were here before this country was established and actually came immediately after the Holocaust. It's usually people from Ashkenaz um, background and much more educated, the elite in Israel, like the rich people. If we say it's like the high tech people, economic, media people, this is the first Israel, which they controlled Israel until 77, until the flip flop in the left, they are left wing. And we have what we call the second Israel. Second Israel, it's the Sfaradim, like Spanish background, that came in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, and go on. And their background, social economy is not very high, and that's a clashing between the first Israel and the second Israel. And the last report I mentioned, like black people against white people, it's not the same, but it can, for the reference of stuff, it can be. Um, so that's the story, and no one cares about the legal reform in Israel. I'm telling you, that's for sure. If you go into the street in Israel, ask the legal. So it's the clashing between these two groups, and the first Israel, which is losing the elections from 77, is kind of, we are not accepting that the second Israel now is ruling. That's the story. And they will probably find any excuse to go to demonstrate and not accepting the election now. My generation, I'm 50 years old, but my generation doesn't feel this tension between first Israel and second Israel. My parents' generation and my grandfather generation actually felt it a lot, because if you were an Ashkenazi born here from the kibbutzim or something like that, so there were places that the second Israel people cannot be a part of, even in jobs. Even in jobs, my parents' generation felt it a bit. My generation doesn't feel it, because we don't go with the feeling that we are a second or we are something else. But still, these feelings are existing in Israel between first Israel and second Israel. So what you guys saw in the last 3 months is that this flame that was under something was just came out. And if I'm a member of first Israel, let's go this way, so I say, why I have to pay taxes? And I'm like the elite of high techs and economic in Israel, and the taxes that we pay as companies, for instance, support the Orthodox, which doesn't serve in the army and don't go to work and don't pay taxes, and vice versa. This thing is what we are witnessing. The right wing is actually winning the election from 1977, but is not ruling this country. By the way, the demonstration last 3 months was an example for that, because, um, give you an example, they decided actually at the same day that Netanyahu announced he's going to stop or postpone the reform, to shut down the airport. Now, true, workers' union did that, but who does that? Who decided to shut the airports for what? Because of political dispute? There is a law. You have to announce there is a dispute, and then you take 2 weeks, and then you can go to a strike. And what we are witnessing here is actually clashing between the first Israel and the second Israel. We will do another show about that, go deeply. But this is a phrase you guys need to know, that under the surface in Israel, this thing still exists, and people are going with feelings that they are second best, third best people. And that's the story here in Israel. It's not about the reform. It can be the reform, and tomorrow they will fight on a cheese, or I don't know what. It's the basic fact that almost half of the Israeli people doesn't accept the fact that the other half is ruling, because they're considered to be, they think they are not the same, and they don't share the same values, and etc., etc. Meaning, if I'm a right-wing guy, if I go and vote, my voice is not the same as the other one vote, which is pretty crazy if you think about democracy. So, tense days in terms of security, nothing unique going on in Israel. Our enemies around us are enjoying the show of all the demonstration and the clashing, and the understanding that actually, if you want to win or you want to beat Israel, just let them fight each other, and they will do it. They will do the job greatly, because if we will attack them militarily, we cannot win. And I hope that the people of Israel will find a way to live between themselves in peace, because we are brothers. You can fight in a family, but you cannot divorce a family. Brothers cannot divorce each other. You can divorce your wife, you cannot divorce from your brother. It's blood. And Israeli people are in the first house, first temple. Second, we were here 80 years in Israel. Before what happened, and now we're 75, so we have still 5 or 6 years to break the record. I hope we will do it. Let's see about that. Passover is coming with the spring. Next week we have a Passover evening in Israel. It's the birthday of the Israeli people. I would like to take this opportunity to bless you guys and wish you a happy Passover. Whoever is celebrating that, have a good holiday with your friends and family, and remember that to fight and to hate each other will not get us nowhere. So, Shabbat Shalom. See you next week.
Hey folks, thanks for watching the Maranatha Global Bible Studies. We pray that these resources encourage you. It has been a value to us from the beginning of FAI to produce quality media to resource the global body and give it away for free and free forever. Now that said, if you want to join us in reaching those who do not have the gospel, we invite you to jump in on our $5 a month giving campaign. Literally skip a coffee and you can change the face of the Middle East in the 1040 window. Head to faistudios.org where you can give safely and securely. Maranatha.